With the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover just around the corner now, it really shouldn't come as a surprise that most of the different Arrowverse shows have been building up to it in some way or another. Barry's trying to get Team Flash ready for his apparently inevitable death, the Monitor's been doing stuff like reviving Lex Luthor and visiting Hayworld, because why not I guess, and Oliver's been running errands on a couple different Earths, one of which actually got wiped out by a giant antimatter wave towards the end of Arrow's 8th season premiere. Honestly, I'm not surprised that Earth 2 got wiped out. I mean, we are talking about a crossover that destroyed a bunch of universes before eventually replacing them all with a single Earth in the comics, so it's not that weird to think that the Arrowverse version's gonna do the same thing, but I am surprised that we still haven't seen Team Flash reacting to what happened to Earth 2 at all. I get that they probably don't have all that much time to see what all's going on with other Earths right now, but come on. This is the one show that pretty much spent an entire season dealing with a bunch of Earth 2 bullshit. So you think having it be annihilated, erasing a couple of Team Flash's good friends on that Earth in the process, would have impacted the show at least a little bit by now, right? I mean, I'm just saying, the writers could have given us at least one scene of Jay like, "Oh hey Barry, remember how I was mapping out all this antimatter throughout the multiverse? Yeah, well, a bunch of it moved through and hit that Earth nobody cares about not too long ago. Sucks for those guys, right?" Seriously though, I know there's been some debate about whether or not Harry and Jesse managed to make it off Earth 2 in one piece, given how Jesse could have raced the both of them over to a different Earth if she had enough reaction time, but as I mentioned in my Arrow Season 8 video, feel free to check it out, it definitely seems like they're both super dead right now. Or are they? See, there's a theory floating around right now that Harry didn't end up getting erased with the rest of Earth 2, but instead got his intelligence back, somehow, and actually ended up becoming Pariah. Yes, that Pariah. The guy who basically helped kick off the crisis before being shuttled around to every world that was about to be destroyed. It sounds crazy, but there are actually a couple pieces of evidence that make it seem like this theory might have some weight to it. For starters, let's take a look at Pariah's backstory in the comics, as originally presented in 1985's Crisis on Infinite Earths number 7. Before becoming a mopey guy with a terrible haircut who could travel between universes, Pariah started off as an arrogant scientist with a terrible haircut. Seriously though, antimatter experiments aside, something I'll get to in a little bit, Pariah being one of the smartest people, if not the smartest person, on his Earth, along with being a grating and arrogant scientist back in the day, does fit pretty well with Harry's character, doesn't it?
I'm fascinated by the subtle differences between us, you know? And the not so subtle ones. Like what? Like the fact that I'm a genius and you're a moron.
And according to showrunner Eric Wallace at Comic-Con a few months ago, that sort of comparison may be intentional, considering how he stated at the Flash panel, "The secrets of why Tom becomes Pariah are actually part of graphic novel number 1, meaning the first half of season 6, and all lead up to a very big twist at the end of the Bloodwork case that launches Crisis." Now having said that though, I know at least some of you guys are probably going to be like, "But comics, Harry can't be Pariah, he's supposed to be a big important scientist, and Harry's definitely not one of those anymore." And that's true, Harry did sort of lose a few IQ points thanks to DeVoe back in season 4.
Well, it's not every day you translate symbols into binary programming polynomials.
I don't know what that means.
But come on, this is a comic book show we're talking about. There's tons of different ways Harry could have gotten his intelligence back. Maybe somebody on Earth 2 built another thinking cap, or did a better job of reprogramming his brain than Cisco did. And that's before we start considering whether or not the Monitor could have played a part in any of this too. I mean, the dude can apparently bring dead people back to life and carried around a reality-altering book in the last crossover, so I'm pretty sure he can make somebody a little bit smarter if he wanted to. More importantly though, it's not like we know what all Harry was doing after season 4, right? I mean, it has been a while since we last saw him, so maybe after getting his intelligence back, Harry started working on a way to use antimatter to see the origin of the universe, kinda like the comic Pariah did before his universe got wiped out. So yeah, definitely seems like we'll be seeing Harry become Pariah sometime soon, right? Well, here's the thing. Even if you could kinda sorta make a decent case that average Harry here is gonna go back to being his usual dickish self in time for the crisis, it actually seems more likely that Harry can't be Pariah when you really stop and think about it. First off, remember how Eric Wallace mentioned Pariah showing up as part of this big twist in the first half of the season? Assuming that means Harry, that means you'd also have to assume either Harry somehow managed to give himself back his intelligence or got somebody else to help him do it, something he didn't want back by the way.
You brought me back. You brought back what matters.
Or that the Monitor intentionally gave him back his intelligence, knowing full well Harry would eventually use it in a way that would lead to the destruction of the multiverse. So yeah, neither option makes any sense. I mean, there's zero setup for Harry to be doing, well, anything really this season, and there's a reason for that, because second, everything I just said ignores the fact that his entire world got erased on Arrow. Sure, he could have survived it, either because of Jesse or the Monitor saving him, but you think we would have heard something about it by now, right? At least a hint that Harry might be involved with whatever's going on with the Monitor, maybe? I mean, if he and Jesse left Earth 2, then why wouldn't they head over to Earth 1 and warn everybody what was happening? Besides, Harry being Pariah would mean that the antimatter wave would have had to have started on Earth 2, but we know it didn't thanks to Jay Garrick's multiverse map. You can see a few spots where Jay marked that antimatter had been detected, and down near Earth 2, Jay wrote that that universe would be the next appearance of antimatter. So unless Harry made himself smart again, then decided to go over to another Earth in order to screw around with some crazy experiment because fuck you, that's why, I'm pretty sure Harry's not the Pariah we're looking for. But if that's the case, then which Wells could it be? Wells the Grey in disguise? HR come back to life? Well, how about Nash? I mean, he is an arrogant dickhead like the other Wells we've seen so far, and even though he may not seem as smart as those other guys at first, since he had to go to Cisco to build some new monitor tracking tech for him, we do know that Nash is a doctor.
According to his techno fanny pack, this belongs to Dr. Harrison Nash Wells.
And he's apparently smart enough to think the Council of Wells is full of idiots, so he definitely fits the arrogant scientist role Pariah used to fill. Plus, Eric Wallace did say there's an interesting twist we can expect to see out of him sometime before the start of Crisis back at Comic-Con. Remember when he said, there's this completely unexpected side to him, which I will not spoil. He has a secret that will be slowly dripped out in graphic novel number 1, but which will really mess with his mind, literally, that's a spoiler right there, in graphic novel number 2. Speaking of unexpected sides, anyone else notice how different Nash is around Allegra? He's normally secretive with Team Flash, but just tells her everything. And he clearly cares about her since he gave her this big speech about using her powers for good and all that. Hell, he even outright says she reminds him of somebody before looking at her all emotionally.
Why are you being so nice today?
Let's just say, you remind me of someone.
I don't know about you guys, but after seeing all that, my best guess is that Nash played some role in kickstarting the crisis on his Earth, despite the warnings of the Monitor, which ended up getting his daughter, Allegra's doppelganger, erased in an antimatter wave. And now he's going around looking for the Monitor as part of his plan to expose him, thereby stopping all the other universes from getting erased. Or at least that's the idea. Obviously I could be way off, but Nash being Pariah makes way more sense out of why we're getting more focus on this new Wells rather than saying an old one we haven't seen in a while is going to suddenly turn out to be the key that starts this year's crossover. But I guess we'll have to wait and see what all happens when the crossover starts on December 8th. But anyways guys, that's my take on whether or not we'll be seeing Harry Wells turn into Pariah in the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover. If you guys agreed with anything I said in this video, or if you have your own thoughts you want to throw out there, then go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, I will see you all next time. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, then go ahead and click that like button, and if you're new, maybe consider clicking that subscribe button too. I've also got links to my Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and Patreon in the description. You should probably check those out too. And if you want to see more of my content, then you can click the link to my last video. It's right there in the middle of your screen. Alright, and I will see you all next time.